I would like to share with you some of the foundations of learning. Now, with being the last couple years, a lot of people being home, trying to learn online or more isolated, as children are coming back into public school and out in the public, there are things that I've noticed that these couple years have changed. And so I want to talk a little bit about that foundation of learning. Children are great by their very nature, and we have the privilege and responsibility of raising them. It can be challenging at times. Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Cynthia Armstrong. I am a general and a special education teacher. I homeschooled my own children for 5 years, and I have done a lot of study and research and have applied things to really find what works for myself, my own children, and my students. And I want to share this with you. So, after coming back from when many of us were home and we could say we were stuck there, but we were required to be home as much as possible. And this generation of children coming up, their beginning years had more isolation, less social, and there's a couple things that I've noticed. Now, I taught preschool and I'm currently teaching kindergarten. And a lot of teachers have told me in the past, like, oh, you're like a real teacher. Oh, you're going to do parent-teacher conferences. And I get a lot of these comments. And I always think it's a little bit funny because they are a little bit clueless, or maybe a lot of it, about what we really teach in like preschool and kindergarten. And those are foundational skills that as kids hit in the older grades, the teachers don't really think about because they've already learned those foundational skills. Um, and so that's what I would like to talk to you about, because it's the foundation of learning that allows learning in the home as well as in a school setting. And so if your child is struggling going back to a school setting and some things like that, check out these foundational skills and see if your child has them. And so one of those first foundational skills is being able to make mistakes. Now, sometimes as parents, we can, protect our children or help our children in such a way that making mistakes becomes something that's not okay, that something they haven't experienced fully, and things like that. And so when our child looks at trying something, attempting something, doing something, they might say, oh, I don't know how, or help me. And then we come in and help them in a way that we do it for them rather than in a way that teaches. So one of those basic foundational skills needed for learning is the ability to make mistakes and kind of how we see mistakes, because mistakes aren't something to avoid, they're something to embrace and to learn from. But children have learned that, oh, they might get a negative response from the adult, or they miss out on praise if they make a mistake. And mistakes become something to avoid. I have had students, like when we need to take an assessment, because there's state required assessments, and then there's just kind of progress monitoring assessments that we do, that they get a lot of anxiety, or even if they don't have anxiety, they're like, oh, I don't know the answer. And so I'm just going to look at somebody else's paper. Or they do things that make it so them not knowing or the exact response, and they know they don't know, they're not okay with it. But here's the thing, when I give those assessments, it has nothing to do with the child per se. It has to do with, did I do the teaching in a manner that met this child's learning needs? And if they didn't learn it, then yes, there could be behaviors or distractions or things at home that makes that more difficult for the teacher. But when the children understand this is just to check where I am, and wherever I am is okay, then they don't need to cheat. They don't need to feel down on themselves or like they're not good or that they can't learn. It just means we get to continue forward and discover a way that's more helpful for them, or teach some focusing skills or attention skills or some basic skills that are even under some of the foundation to uh, allow them to learn. So it's not about judging the child, but the child can often feel judged. And so mistakes are not okay. And that's, whether they didn't clean the dishes thoroughly or sweep in that one corner, or even if it's things at home, right? If we judge our kids, then they lose that ability to make mistakes and be not just okay with it, but great with it. Like, oh, I'm not avoiding mistakes. I'm looking at my mistakes and I'm learning from my mistakes and I'm trying again. And so that trying again is another foundational skill. I call that grit, I've got grit, I commit, I commit to keep trying and to keep learning. I've often heard it, I've got grit, I don't quit. But our brain doesn't do great with the word don't. Like in tests, like even my son in college, he says, it'll say, look for the one that is not, and it'll be all caps because our brain doesn't really register it. And so even in college, they'll do things to help see the not so that we can see what does the student know. And so I like to use the I've got grit, I commit. That still rhymes, and I'm committing in a positive way to learning and moving forward and trying again. Okay, so along with those two, there is being able to handle or value uncertainty. I don't know this, but I'm going to try. I'm not sure what the answer is, but this is my best guess, or I really have no clue. I'm going to move on to the next question and get as many done as I can. So that's all kind of school setting. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up, so I have a lot of school on my mind. But it works in the home as well, Oh, I got the dishes done. Is there something I can do to improve? Like if I let something soak first, or if I do these dishes and then these dirtier dishes at the very end, the water, is there just something? What am I noticing? And even though I might not know something, can I try? That uncertainty, I'm going to give it a try. And then that last one is that learning takes effort. We all kind of want it easy. We like it easy. Our brain loves to not be wrong and not to put in effort. But learning is building a muscle. It takes effort. We cannot have learning without effort. Just like we can't build our muscles without working out. Whether that workout is in a physical doing the job way, like chopping a tree, or if it's, going to the gym and working out. The muscle doesn't grow if we don't work it. And so we could say, oh, learning takes place at school, and maybe academic learning does, but it doesn't matter if we're doing academic learning or life learning in the home, and with, home tasks and skills that have to do with like social and interaction, right? It's still an important part. In both those places, we're growing our learning muscles. Just like you could do it at the gym or you could do it chopping a tree. You're still building muscles. And the final one that I'd like to mention really quick is that foundational thing to understand is that our actions affect other people. And that's not to say we're responsible for how other people respond to us, but all of our actions affect others. So if, I'm in class and I'm can't sit still and I'm talking loud and things, then it makes it harder for other people to even hear what the teacher's saying, and distracts them from the learning, right? So our behavior, our choices affect other people. And that's not to say that the person who's being loud is wrong or incorrect or anything like that, but it's to notice that it affects other people. And so for today, I just kind of wanted to point out those foundational skills. Learning is not about, oh, I know my ABCs, I know I can read. We had to learn those things. And so just remember, children are great by their very nature, and we have that privilege and that opportunity and responsibility to raise them. Hi friends, Cynthia Armstrong here. Thanks for joining us today. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you can see when new videos come out, and like this one. It is such a responsibility and a challenge to raise great kids, and we are here to help you along that journey to make it as enjoyable and fun and fulfilling as possible. Please check out our website, www.raisinggreatkids.net, and I will leave that in the description below.